Okay. Call to order the June 2023 meeting of the Sycamore Township Zoning Commission. My name is Roger Friedman. Ask Mr. Neese to take the roll.
Of course. Ms. Flanagan. Here. Mr. Barrett. Here. Mr. Friedman.
Present.
Mr. Roos. Here. Mr. Swanson.
Here.
And I'm here as well.
Good. We've got a full board tonight. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April the 10th, 2023 meeting. Anyone have any comments, questions about the minutes? Get a motion to approve.
That was the Beacon case. It ultimately was approved by the trustees. So.
I'll make a motion to be approved.
Second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Meese, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed. The minutes are approved. Old business, I don't think there is any old business before us. Is there?
There's not.
Okay. New business, case number 2023-06 MA. My understanding that the applicant requested a continuance. This matter will be continued until the July the 10th meeting of the zoning commission.
Since it's on the agenda, would it be appropriate for the board to just make a motion and second it and vote on the continuance?
Not a problem.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Meese.
Second.
By Mr. Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
The next item up is case 2023-07 TC. It's a text amendment to the Sycamore Township zoning resolution initiated by the Sycamore Township trustees. Jeff, before you go into telling us about this, right after on the document that you had prepared, the proposal, you've got in there on the first line that on May 16, 2023, in a 3-0 vote. I think that should be 2-0 vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tracy Schwager was not present. So
Oh, yes. Thanks for
just so if
catching
we
that.
publish that. But
The
anyway, if you could then enlighten us about this.
Yes, the vote is, or the report is not published prior to. I will save it that way, 2-0. So on May 16, 2023, in a 2-0 vote, the Sycamore Township Board of Trustees voted in favor of a text change process. So they weren't voting for it necessarily. They were just voting to start the process. So following this report is the resolution. We can kind of go over that if you'd like. This text change seeks to amend the zoning resolution to allow for criminal misdemeanor citations and penalties. So the word would be allow for. So right now the zoning resolution only considers civil remedies, and we'll be able to continue that if we so chose, if approved. Directed by the law director, the text change also proposes minor but necessary procedural alterations related to the enforcement process. Just to, I guess one of the themes of my notes here is just, this is not a instance of where the township is, trying to go power hungry. The township enforcement posture would remain the same. So wherever and wherever possible, the township, really wants to work with folks, whether it's residents or business owners, to remediate a case effectively. Really, the goal is to always work with a resident or business owner, and sometimes it might take time, additional months even, if we see progress, and that's the goal. The goal is not to seek the judicial process, but sometimes an escalated judicial remedy is required. As noted, this text change seeks to amend the zoning resolution to allow for criminal misdemeanor citations and penalties. The ultimate goal is to gain access to the Hamilton County Housing Court. It's a special municipal docket geared specifically to remedy housing matters that are zoning violations, essentially.
Jeff, just on that point, what about commercial issues? Does that not apply then?
The township currently has the ability to file an injunction and get it into common police court. That's ultimately our law director, Mr. Barbier, would have this tool and would be able to adjudicate. But my understanding is this kind of the nexus for this text change is to gain access to that housing court. So generally, I would say it's really housing matters. So that docket, Judge Bernie Bouchard is on the bench, only hears criminal cases, so that's why, you know, the change. I think in the past, they used to hear civil cases, but I think Judge Bouchard has sent just criminal cases now. But again, the township's goal is to do everything reasonable to possibly to work with the property owners before seeking a judicial remedy. As mentioned, if ultimately approved, the township would retain the ability to adjudicate the matter via civil course. For context, other Hamilton County jurisdictions such as Hamilton or Colerain Township have similarly amended their zoning resolution so to gain access to the Hamilton County Housing Accord. If ultimately approved and adopted by the trustees, there would be a tandem resolution for our property maintenance code. So to amend our property maintenance code for criminal citations doesn't require the same process to go for the zoning commission. I just want to point that it would change. It would potentially change for the property maintenance code, but I would yield to say this isn't going to be high grass, peeling paint, de minimis cases that we would be going after. There, you know, that they would be cases where, you know, really the health, safety, and welfare of the community is you know, negatively affected. One example with our property maintenance code, it deals with rodents. I could see a situation where you have an infested house with rodents. Of course, if the house is infested with rodents, there's probably also zoning violations too. But it would just be another, you know, tool in the toolbox. But I think I know the report, you know, with this tool comes a responsibility. So I think it would be used effectively, and you know, certainly only if it met the you know, the test of the law director or administrator and the trustees. So the goal is not to create a police state. The goal is to seek a more efficient court venue that will, in the long run, I think will save the township money and time. Instead of, you know, right now, civil remedies will be, you know, $500. I think it's a week. Fines are one thing, but it's the getting in front of a judge in a criminal proceeding can be different. And ultimately, the township's goal is to remediate properties, not get people in trouble, and not, it's just to remediate the property. That's really all we're interested in. With that, then the following pages are the resolution that was passed 2-0. I'm not going to go through all of the underlying text changes in Exhibit A. A lot of it is work done by the law director to, you know, I think review, of course, due process is important for all our attorneys in the room, just to make sure all that's tight and sufficient.
Jeff, I did have one question reading through the actual text amendment on, I guess was probably page 7 of what we received towards the bottom. That's the section 24-4.2 other enforcement actions. Indicates the persons who could initiate an action, and it lists the prosecuting attorney of Hamilton County. I'm just wondering if anyone checked with the prosecuting attorney of Hamilton County to see if she was willing to be included.
I understand they do. We have a housing court that functions now, because I was unfamiliar with this because I've been felony too long, but apparently they do have county prosecutors that participate in it.
Yeah,
Already. So
right now I know,
whether
but
Missy is
whether, you know, they want to take that on because it's
It's
you know, because
somebody.
there are zoning resolutions still in effect that are under the control of Board of County Commissioners, and there are other ones that are under the control of the separate townships. I know that the prosecutor has a statutory duty to represent the township unless they have their own law director, which in this case, there is a law director in Sycamore Township.
I think that's a great question, and I think perhaps it might be perhaps a bit of maybe some boilerplate language, but if I could ask, if you could direct me to a person at the office that I might be able to pose the question to. Ultimately, I think
It
it's,
might be me.
yes.
Or Rick Gibson, maybe. Rick
Yeah.
Gibson is.
Well, the phrase down here though below, it says it may institute an
Yes,
injunction.
I
That
understand.
doesn't require,
We
right?
can
No,
definitely do that.
exactly.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't even know that the prosecutor, I don't know. I mean, the prosecutor may be more than willing, or she may not be. And, you know, she's in a position where she may do it if she has a citizen of Sycamore Township saying, "You have to do this," you know.
There's two hypotheticals I can think of. One is a case where perhaps the township law director has to recuse himself. Maybe perhaps we could go hire a special counsel, or
Yeah, there's language in there that you can hire a special counsel to represent the township.
or if a resident brings the action, and then it's, yeah, and I would be happy.
I could talk to Larry Barber here, if that's who put this together.
It is.
You know, like the prosecutor too, if you want me to.
What I think the township's position would be, the prosecutor's office is a really important office in Hamilton County, and we want to work closely with them and not put them in any position that they don't want to be in.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not suggesting in any way that the prosecutor wouldn't want to do it. I'm just wondering, somebody should check. Can't make sure that's not an issue.
With that, if this was approved and we had the issue a criminal citation, a Hamilton County Sheriff Deputy would be the one that, and we've sent two requests to the county sheriff's department. We have not heard back, which we took that as they had no comment, but I will send them another request prior to the trustee meeting on this to seek comment. And of course, Lieutenant Tar is at our trustee meeting, so they'll be there. But in initial conversations, I don't think there was concern. Certainly, this is not a mechanism for the to add anything to the sheriff's department's plate in terms of any investigation role. It's more of just on the day it's time to issue the citation.
If there is a criminal proceeding in Hamilton County and somebody has to be served, by statute, they're required to serve. So, you know, I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah. With that, that's all I have. Are there any other questions?
So is that an issue that we proceed tonight because still an open question, or would that be amended by the trustees if there was a change?
I think that if we make a recommendation to adopt the resolution, it still has to come back before the trustees to formally vote on it. And so I would suggest we take a vote on it tonight. I'll abstain. But then we'll figure it out whether or not it's going to be an issue. I don't think that it will be. I'm just saying we should ask the question.
Someone could make a motion to propose a condition that the township touch base with the prosecutor's office relating to that 24-4.2 provision.
I have a question. What was the issue that compelled the trustees to propose this, to take this up? Why are we getting something from the trustees? If then I guess it goes from them to us and then back to them.
This is one of the normal ways that, and probably the most common way in which a text change is proposed. Of course, a resident or citizen can propose a text change. But another way is when, perhaps the staff identifies or someone identifies an issue, then it's like, okay, trustees, we heard this issue. If there's sufficient support to just go into the process, they can vote to do that. One example, at a past community, there was issues with chickens and people having bees. So that was an example of where that board initiated a text change. There's a backlog of a number of cases that this tool could help us perhaps get it in more of an efficient, targeted venue. I think I noted in my report, certainly this is not a change in township posture or wanting to make it it's seeking a a tool that I think frankly, we're lucky to have in Hamilton County. That a court venue geared specifically to housing.
So, in the exhibit, the public hearing comes after. It's like it comes before. I'm confused on, it's on page 2. It says the zoning commission shall set a date for public hearing not less than 20 days from certification and shall provide proper notice, and then within 30 days after the public hearing, then we shall recommend the approval or denial of the proposed amendment. So is this just, we recommend proposing it tonight and then set that?
In the township.
in
This is-
play?
Section
This is
4
the
on
pub-
Those are
this is the
Is
public
this for
hearing now.
public hearing now?
Yeah, it's in-
It is, yeah.
Okay. So not less than 20 days.
So there is yet to be a public hearing?
So May 16th was the
So that-
certification.
that is
Okay.
tonight. That's what we're doing.
This is the public hearing.
Today's date was just within that time.
Not less than
Not
20,
less than 20,
not more than 40.
so 27 days.
And so we've had nothing from the public, and you've had it posted online, I assume, and nobody from the public has said anything.
Nobody has
We
said
saw
it.
them three from the room tonight.
That is correct, yes.
It's on the agenda for tonight.
Right.
The only
Okay.
people who would complain are the ones who get cited, so they're not gonna go.
And I think before us tonight, other matter, we make a recommendation to the board of trustees.
Right.
So, and I think Jeff, you would indicate it probably would be best to, in the recommendation that happens, to recommend that the language concerning the prosecuting attorney be addressed.
Certainly.
I did a little bit of investigating on this, and there are other townships that follow this process. One of the advantages is in a civil suit, the attorney fees can start to add up. Versus this can get adjudicated very quickly. There's one thing in fact I want to ask about. It says if someone's in violation, there can be a citation for every day that they're in violation.
What point in the,
It's in there, I read it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The citation on page 5 or 6. It looks like what this was just adaptation of where it used to say a civil, and now it says a misdemeanor citation. Is that something we follow or would follow? That do we today, if there's somebody in violation, do we cite them repeatedly for the violation? Once?
It's that paragraph right above the 24.
yeah,
Have we ever done that to date? When we cited somebody?
I don't think so for multiple citations.
I was gonna say, Kevin, who decided the guy over Yarmouth Road, Al probably a number of times,
Him, yeah.
you know,
Well, not every day they were not.
not in violation every day, I don't think.
And so,
Yeah, I mean, Al Gamarino wasn't
He was violation every day, but we didn't cite him every day.
right.
You guys gave him a certain
Right.
time limit to get cleaned up,
Mhm.
or, so.
And he didn't.
part of that is, and I'm not an attorney, but I think it might be written to give the attorneys the most room possible to put as many citations out on the record.
It can be helpful, but it usually just adds more layers of work. So most of the time people
Yeah,
don't
you
take that
don't
kind
see
of.
it, but it's not
They just do a range.
unusual in criminal statutes, for instance, that deal with criminal nuisances. That every day is a continuing violation, every day would be a new violation. And Anne's right,
It's
I
just not
mean,
very
you typically
practical.
wouldn't get somebody issuing a new citation, but I can tell you that it's in the statutes.
there's always that one offender out there that pushes your buttons.
Gives you the latitude to put the hammer on.
And certainly, I think if we're putting out notices and noting that, hey, this could be a criminal misdemeanor citation, there's a segment of the population that perhaps wouldn't act that might start to act because they see that and they're like, oh, that's probably, but certainly I would underline the township. If we never had to take a case to the housing court, that's what we would like to do, but sometimes you have to, after all the attempts have been exhausted.
Care to make a motion?
I move that we consider the text change for case number 2023-07 TC with the condition that we do check with the Hamilton County prosecutor for their willingness to participate as described.
I'll second.
Any further comments? We'll take the roll.
Sure. Ms. Flanagan.
Aye.
Mr. Barrett.
Aye.
Mr. Friedman.
I'll abstain for the reasons I gave.
Mr. Roots.
Aye.
I'll vote yes.
Okay. And when's the next trustees meeting?
Next,
They would consider this.
likely, well, obviously the first Tuesday of the month is July 4th. So certainly not that day, but likely the week of, if our first meeting for the trustees is the week of July 10th, I think it would be that meeting. It's going to be let me pull up the calendar.
17.
Likely July 5th, I'm thinking.
Okay. Do the trustees have anything else to report?
They do not. The next meeting we'll have the continued case. We'll have a signed case related to a restaurant up on 275 in Montgomery. Just trying to think of anything else coming up. I think that's all for now.
I wanted to ask you if you can give us just a preview on the case that's coming up, the signs or the shops of Kenwood. What is provoking the public interest? So we might be ready for that discussion.
I was talking with the applicant's attorneys. I knew I wouldn't give a report, but I'll just note what's on the website for their application. There was a gym back in January that opened up without permit. They had rear entry. So, and so that's concerned because you have residential and commercial. And then that gym, of course, opens up at 5:30 a.m., which is normal for gyms. There's also a restaurant at the site called 6 in the Morning, which was, I didn't issue the permit, my predecessor did, but there's a provision in the underlying PUD that only allows business operations from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. So, it's the irony of if you have a business called 6 in the Morning, there's an issue there. So I guess the underlying request for the applicant is the hours, perhaps their rear entry, but maybe that could be, we'll see on that. And then with the site's 20, that PUD is pushing 23 years old. Landscaping has died. Perhaps some provisions of it could be adjusted a little bit. It's a natural time to look at it. So, and I've been upfront with the applicant if they want to open up Pandora's box of, we're just gonna look at the whole thing and just see how it goes. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be a good kid.
So our next meeting is Monday, July the 10th. 5 p.m. Nothing else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Fine, it's
Don't everybody
motions.
jump at once. Everybody wants to stick
I'll
around.
second both motions.
All in favor?
Alright.
We are adjourned.
Short movement. Short.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll stop recording.